Will new technology disrupt the status quo in wide format? Will it change what you've been thinking about for wide format? Does this sound familiar? Are you getting these types of requests from your wide format customers? Do they want quicker turnaround, say less than 2 days? Do they want greater quantities, more often? Do they want greater image quality? Do they want more customization, the ability to personalize wide format posters and signs? According to InfoTrends, the majority of wide format customers want their jobs within 2 days, average about 36 prints per order, and come back for more jobs 4 or more times per year. Now let's say it takes 3 or 4 hours to produce those 36 prints with your traditional multi-pass inkjet. What if you could run them all in about 5 minutes? Would that help you rise to meet those challenges? Would that open up extra time to run more jobs? Would that help you grow your business? Also, according to InfoTrends, digitally printed wide format signs and graphics is worth about $55 billion worldwide, with about half of that being in the United States. It's expected to grow at a 7 to 8% growth rate through 2017. What if there was a way to help you meet all these customer requests and tap into this ever-growing wide format market? Would you be interested? Well, there is. It involves new technology, new to the market. So let's take a look at it and see how it can help you. In the last year, you've probably heard of the rise of high-speed, wide-format inkjet printers from Canon, Xerox, and RTI Digital. These new printers all use an inkjet technology developed by Memjet. They call it their waterfall printhead technology. And that's an appropriate choice of terms because it surely can pour out some ink. But this Memjet print technology is not only appearing in the wide format market, it's also showing up in narrow format digital high-speed printing. Right now, they're mostly used there for printing transactional documents like bills, bank statements, insurance policies, and the like. But that will probably change too as the technology evolves. But since we're a wide format group here, we'll focus on the wide format products that are available to you. So let's start by taking a closer look at what Memjet technology is. Now, you don't need to know all the specifications and minute technical details of how it works to benefit from this technology. But it's good to start with a brief overview of Memjet technology and how it differs from the inkjets that you're probably already familiar with, so you can understand how it can help you meet the challenges we noted and how it can open up fantastic opportunities to increase your capacity and your business. Memjet printers use aqueous-based dye inks, similar to those used in the inkjet printers you already use at home, at the office, or in your print shop. In a general sense, they operate just like these inkjets. They spit out ink droplets onto the media. But there's a big difference. The technology in the familiar wide-format inkjets available in today's market, the ones from HP, Epson, Muto, Roland, and so on, have been around for a couple of decades now, and they use moving printheads. Memjet inkjets, however, use a stationary printhead. Only the media moves here. Let's take a closer look at the difference between those to be sure you understand what I mean by moving and stationary printheads. In a standard traditional wide-format inkjet printer, you have a single printhead. This printhead usually has at least 4 inks: cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Some of the higher value inkjets used for graphic arts prints add other ink colors to increase their color gamut. They print an image band by moving the head across the media. The head then returns to its starting position, the printer advances the media, and the process repeats. By contrast, in stationary head inkjets, only the media moves. The heads don't move at all. This allows for much faster printing. Single Memjet printheads are about 8 3/4 inches wide. Now, this is what gets used in the narrow format products. The wide format versions provide a 42-inch print width by combining 5 of these heads, as shown here. They align them electronically. This is called stitching the printheads. Each of these 5 heads snaps into place, and you can remove and replace any single head. It only takes a couple of minutes to replace a head, plus a few minutes of automatic calibration time after you replace it. You rarely, if ever, need to replace all 5 at the same time. Because they're stationary and not prone to the mechanical vibrations you'd find in moving heads, they provide for extremely accurate dot placement. This is what you end up with. This is what it looks like inside a memjet-based wide-format print engine. Each head contains 5 rows of inkjet nozzles, 1 each for cyan, magenta, yellow, and 2 rows for black. That extra row of black helps produce sharper images, and it's also there because of the use of this printer in the CAD market, where, of course, black predominates. Each row subdivides into 2 rows at 800 dpi to provide 1600 dpi across the media. The nozzle density is about 17 times that of traditional inkjet printheads. 11 specially designed microchips in each of these printheads drives those nozzles. Memjet printheads shoot millions of tiny ink droplets per second. Since the droplets are so small, evaporation is instantaneous and the output emerges from the device completely dry. Also, because of the small droplet size, image quality is improved because there's less tendency for adjacent droplets to bleed into each other. Very little dot gain. All memjet printers use specially formulated aqueous dye inks. Compared to pigment-based inkjet inks, these dye inks provide much more vivid colors. These are 2-liter tanks shown here. Because they're dye-based, they're best suited to indoor applications. They're water-resistant but not waterproof on most coated media. They should last 6 to 12 months under normal indoor UV lighting conditions. Now, some of you are probably thinking, what about the pigment inks? Are they going to add those in the future? I've heard that they're working on it and that their 2nd and 3rd generation heads will open the way for pigment. Getting to pigment inks will widen their application portfolio even further. You might take note that the major wide-format printer vendors are investing R&D dollars in inkjet technology. Inkjet technology is getting better, the quality is getting better, and the speeds are improving. Inkjet's cheaper than toner, it provides better quality, and it does so more consistently than toner. There's just too much physics involved in producing prints with toner. Not that toner technology is going away either, for sure, I'm not saying that. How about media support? What substrates can you expect to use? So far, the manufacturers are offering these in their wide-format media portfolios for memjet-based inkjets. Be sure to check the complete list of recommended media for any single memjet-based printer vendor you may consider. They don't all advertise the same media array. You can also try other media types that you may already have in your stock. It'd be an experiment, but certainly worth a try. Just remember to create individual ICC profiles for each media stock that you use. Okay, so now we know a little bit about the technology. It's natural to next ask which applications are best suited for these printers. So let's take a look at these 3 general categories: CAD, GIS, and graphic arts. First, let's talk about CAD. Historically, CAD printing has mostly been done in mono. Not because the color content wasn't there, but because it just plain cost too much to produce those print volumes using traditional color inkjets or toner-based color wide-format printers. The new memjet-based wide-format printers, however, will change that because of their ability to produce very large volumes quickly at much lower costs when compared to traditional inkjets. In fact, the cost and speed approaches those of monochrome wide-format printers. There's been an upsurge of requests for color CAD prints, too, over the past few years. Color has become more and more important in this market. We've already seen this in Europe, and right now they significantly lead the U.S. in color CAD printing. GIS, or Geographic Information Systems, is another market where memjet inkjet printers will excel. They offer great image quality and can produce the high volumes needed for GIS at high speed. Transit signs in particular are a great target because schedules change seasonally or even monthly. Construction projects also create needs for temporary maps and schedules. Graphic arts represents a huge opportunity for high-speed, wide-format inkjet printing. It's a natural because we're already doing wide-format graphic arts printing. For memjet-based devices, these are your primary targets: signage, posters, banners, display graphics, point-of-sale signs, and backlit signs. Consider that you can print up to about 12 standard 30-inch by 40-inch posters or a single 30-foot banner in about a minute, and compare that to the current yield you're getting with your traditional inkjet, and you can see the obvious gains in productivity. These will lead to increased profitability and yet more opportunities as you're able to take up jobs that you used to turn away. Here's one of the more unusual applications that I've heard of running on a memjet-based printer: wrapping paper for the Christmas season. Rolls and rolls of wrapping paper. Definitely a high-volume application, so you can see where this printer would fit nicely. Now, you should also consider which applications you should avoid, because they're not suited to this technology. First, fine art prints. Although these are high-quality printers at 1600 by 1600 DPI, the prints from memjet-based inkjets are meant to be viewed at a distance, beginning at about 4 to 6 feet and beyond. They're not meant for arm's-length viewing, and definitely not for the through-the-loop group. I'll talk a bit more about image quality and expectations in a few minutes. Secondly, you want to avoid long-term outdoor applications because dye-based ink isn't meant for that. Although the ink is water-resistant, it won't hold up to rain, and if the print is hung in direct sunlight, it will degrade in just a matter of days. Now, you can laminate the prints, and that will help with the water and longevity issues, but it's not a good large-volume solution at this point. You also have the option of putting some chemical coating on before you do the printing. So that rules out vehicle wraps, right? Yeah, you bet. Here's another application that high-speed inkjet opens up: the ability to do variable data printing for short-run, quick turnaround, wide-format jobs. Because it's a digital printer, not offset, it gives you the opportunity to provide multiple versions of the same sign or poster or banner without sacrificing any productivity at print time. A natural question you have is, what kind of image quality can I expect from memjet-based wide-format inkjets? And are there any cautions? At 1600 by 1600 or 1600 by 800 DPI, these inkjets provide excellent quality, but there are a few considerations. The first is viewing distance. As we noted earlier, these devices are not meant for photographic or fine art graphics prints that are intended to be viewed up close. They're intended for signage, posters, and banners in the graphic arts markets, all items that are meant to be viewed at a distance, with 4 to 6 feet being the minimum starting distance. You want to establish that guideline when evaluating image quality with your customers. They shouldn't be looking at them through a magnifying glass. They should evaluate them at their intended use distance. Apparent defects that show up when viewed up close may be totally invisible at a print's intended viewing distance. With CAD prints, viewing distance isn't an issue anyway because they're primarily line art and text. With a native 1600 DPI across the media width, memjet printers can run at either 1600 DPI or 800 DPI in the print direction. Memjet recommends 16 by 16 for high-quality graphics and 16 by 8 for technical documents. We'll come back to these resolutions later on when we look at the vendors. Some allow the user to choose the resolution and some don't. Because of the inherent limitations of inkjet technology, you'll sooner or later encounter image artifacts. These same types of artifacts show up in all inkjets. They're not unique to memjet-based printers. When properly understood, you can prevent or minimize these artifacts by proper printer maintenance and careful consideration when designing print images and graphics. Here's the more common artifacts you'll see with memjet devices, and most of these aren't even noticeable unless you get out your magnifying glass. The first is vertical banding. These appear as the width of a single printhead because of manufacturing tolerances for the heads. They usually only show up with prints that have solid, dark, horizontal bands of color. Now, even printing an image rotated by 90 degrees can remove this artifact. Next is nozzle contamination, from paper dust and particles clogging the nozzles. These will appear as vertical bands, very narrow ones. Third, missing nozzles. These cause vertical white streaks, and they can usually be prevented by regular maintenance routines. And lastly, stitch alignment marks. Most likely the cause is a slight misalignment of the print heads. Remember, there's 5 of them, meaning 4 junctions. A simple maintenance routine restores the alignment. Now, none of these are showstoppers. They can all easily be dealt with, and again, most of them aren't even noticeable unless you get too close to the print. Your equipment dealer should be able to easily help you avoid these. One last note about applications: the need for color management. Now, this may not be a big deal for CAD and GIS applications, but it's absolutely necessary for all graphic arts applications. As with any printer, you can be sure there will be a color gamut shift when you switch media types. So you must maintain and use individual ICC profiles for each media substrate that you'll use to produce graphic arts prints. If you're using profiles in your current work, you're already familiar with what this means, so it's not a burden. But not doing so is a certain path to dissatisfied customers that won't be back. The vendors can give you their generic profiles for their media, but you may want to tweak them or create new ones for your own stocks. Fortunately, the color management tools that come with the Caldera and Onyx RIPs that drive these printers help make this an easy task. There are 3 wide-format printer manufacturers now offering memjet-based products. They are Osei Canon, RTI Digital, and Xerox. Since they all use the same printheads, there's only a few slight differences between them. Let's take a quick look at those differences. Both the Osei ColorWave 900 and the RTI Vortex 4200 lets users choose between 1600 by 1600 or 1600 by 800 print resolution. The Xerox IJP 2000 only offers 1600 by 1600 DPI. Osei and Xerox have 2-liter tanks. RTI gives you the option to use either 2 or 10-liter tanks. The Osei ColorWave 900 uses their Power M controller with an option for their Onyx Thrive RIP. Both the RTI Vortex and Xerox devices use Caldera Grand RIP Plus as their RIP. The media supplies vary from 2 to 6 rolls. The Osei ColorWave 900 includes 2 stacker trays as standard. Both the Vortex and the Xerox devices have a single 150-sheet tray, and they're optional. So how much do these marvelous systems cost? Here's MSRP, or list pricing. All prices are in US dollars. The Osei ColorWave 900 runs at $160,000 to include the stacker and the Power M controller. The Onyx Thrive RIP is an extra option, and I don't have a cost for that. The RTI Vortex 4200 is $110K, plus $4K for the Caldera RIP and $4K for the stacker. And the Xerox IJP 2000 comes in at $143,000 to include the Caldera RIP and the stacker. You rightly need to consider expected average monthly print volumes when evaluating these printers. The vendors, Osei, Xerox, and RTI, advertise production speeds anywhere from 4,520 square feet per hour to about 10 to 12,000 square feet per hour, depending on whether you're printing in graphic arts or CAD mode. Some of those specs are based on raw speed, and some are more conservative because they factor in non-printing time to account for head cleaning cycles, roll changes, and so on. Because these printers are new to the market, there's not a whole lot of data out there yet about print volumes versus equipment life cycle. I do know, however, of one application, and I've pledged silence on the customer's name and the application, where they ran 400,000 square feet in just under 1 month for a single application. That's right, 400,000 square feet in a month on a single wide-format inkjet printer. You'd need a fleet of traditional wide-form inkjets to match that. Memjet printheads will pass an average of about 3 liters of ink per head without performance degradation. Now, there's no absolute requirement to change the printheads at the 3-liter mark. You can work beyond the 3-liter mark if the image quality is still satisfactory. You'll only need to change a head when you see a degradation, and you probably will only need to change single heads at any given time, not the entire set. You may achieve better head life with graphic arts applications than with CAD prints, because the varied content of graphic images will use a wider range of colors more evenly across the array. CAD prints tend to be heavy on black ink nozzle usage and don't often print across the entire full 42-inch width, leaving some nozzles totally unused. Running costs for graphic arts work will run you about 14 to 17 cents per square foot at 100% area coverage, and that includes the cost of the printheads, inks, service charges, and waste inks. That does not include the cost of media, since that will vary greatly depending on the substrate you're using. It also does not include equipment amortization. Since CAD printing uses far less ink, you can figure about 4 cents per square foot plus the cost of the media. Your return on investment naturally depends on the volumes you run. But even printing at the slowest of the rated speeds for these devices, that's 4,520 square feet per hour, it can take you as little as an hour a day of runtime to start realizing an immediate return on your investment. Compare that to your slower multi-pass inkjets. Anything beyond 1 hour per day, well, that's just pure profit. So you're thinking, should I jump in and get started with this new technology? Or do I want to hang by the side of the pool and see what everyone else is going to do and let everyone else have all the fun? Before making your decision, you might want to consider these quotes from some folks who missed some big opportunities. Thomas Edison apparently didn't think that radio was worth the effort. Wouldn't you like to ask this fella if he'd like to reconsider his decision? And this one was a bit off the mark, too. Don't miss out. This isn't a fad. It's the technology we've all been waiting for, need, and want to increase productivity and profits. All that time you're now spending on single jobs, you can now use it to produce more jobs and more profit. So get a jump on the crowd. Consolidate the multiple devices you now have and save big where it counts. Smaller footprint, less maintenance, and less operator time spent on the several brands of printers you now need to meet various requirements. Memjet-based printers will let you meet most of your customers' needs with just one device. You'll be able to say yes to customers who need eye-catching, personalized prints completed quickly, and you'll attract new customers to increase your business.